Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatsoever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the Undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was considered good for any piece of business he put his mind to. Marley was as dead as a doornail. Now, I don't know what there is particularly dead about a doornail. I would think a coffin nail would be a deader piece of iron, but far be it from me to change the expression, or the country's done for. So permit me to repeat once again, emphatically, that Marley was dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead. Of course he did. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he had been partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole friend, and the only man who mourned him. If Scrooge can be said to have mourned at all. And the mention of Marley's funeral brings me back to the point I started from. There is no doubt that Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, or nothing wonderful can come of the story I am going to relate. Scrooge never painted out old Marley's name. There it stood, years afterward, above the warehouse door. Scrooge and Marley. The firm was known as Scrooge and Marley. Sometimes people new to the business called Scrooge, and sometimes Marley. But he answered to both names. It was all the same to him.
The leaves so green, here we come a-wandering, so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to
It was bitterly cold, and the fog was thick as pea soup on that Christmas Eve of 1843, when Scrooge sat busy in his counting house, with his clerk nearby trying to warm himself at a candle. But since he didn't have much of an imagination, he failed. Fred enters. And there we see Scrooge seated at a high desk, with Cratchit seated at a low desk to his left, partially facing away.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle!
What?
I said, a Merry Christmas, Uncle! God save you!
Bah, humbug!
Christmas a humbug? Uncle, surely you don't mean that.
Of course I mean it. Merry Christmas indeed. What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Oh, come, Uncle. What reason have you to be dismal? You're rich enough.
Bah! Away with Merry Christmas. What's Christmas to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should.
Oh, Uncle.
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. A lot of good it has done you.
Well, there are many things from which I have benefited, even if it didn't show a profit, I dare say. Christmas among the rest. But if anything belonging to Christmas can be considered, apart from the sacred source of its name and origin, I'm sure I've always thought of Christmas as a good time. A kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. The only time of year I know of when men and women seem, by one consent, to open their shut-up hearts freely, and think of others as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of silver or gold in my pocket, I believe it has done me good, and will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
Cratchit burst into applause at this, then stops at Scrooge's scowl.
Another sound out of you, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your position.
Cratchit slinks back into his work.
Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. Come dine with us tomorrow.
I'll see myself in hell first.
But why, Uncle?
Why? Why? Let me ask you a question. Why did you get married recently?
Oh, because I fell in love, of course.
Love! You fell in love! Good afternoon, nephew.
but you never came to see me before I married. Why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why can't we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry to find you so resolute. We've never had a quarrel, you and I. But I came all this way to give you greetings of the season, and I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle!
Good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year!
Good afternoon.
And a Merry Christmas to you, Bob Cratchit.
Oh, thank you, sir. Merry Christmas to you.
There's another fellow, my clerk, with 15 shilling a week and a wife and a family, talking about a Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam.
Jeeves and Howell, charity solicitors, enter.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Marley's dead. In fact, he died 7 years ago this very night.
Oh, I am quite sorry to hear it. But I have no doubt his generosity is well represented by his surviving partner.
Ah,
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provision for the poor and needy, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are in want of basic needs. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common comfort, sir.
what? Are there no prisons? Did they disappear?
Oh no, sir. There are still plenty of prisons.
And the workhouses for the poor? Still in operation, I assume?
They are. Still, I wish I could say they were not.
The treadmill and the poor lot are all in full vigor then?
Yes, very busy, sir.
Ah, well, I was afraid from what you had said that something had stopped them in their useful course. I'm glad to hear it.
Given that they scarcely furnished Christian cheer to the multitude, a few of us are trying to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink, and some means of warmth. We chose this time because it is a time above all others, when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Ah, you wish to be anonymous then?
I wish to be left alone. I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I am taxed for the institutions I've mentioned, and they cost enough. Those who are badly off must go there.
But many can't go there, and many would rather die.
Huh, well, if they'd rather die, perhaps they should go ahead and do it, and decrease the surplus population. Besides, I wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, you could know it, sir.
It's none of my business. I have too much of my own business to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly, and I'll think you leave me to it. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
As solicitors exit, a few carolers enter, including a few children. One boy steps up to regale Scrooge as they sing God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Cratchit is pleased.
Get away from here, you! I didn't ask to be bothered with that noise.
The child, startled, retreats back to the carolers.
You'll want all day tomorrow, I suppose?
If it's quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair. If I was to hold back half a crown for it, you'd think you were being abused, no doubt. And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day wages for no work.
It's only once a year, sir.
Ugh, a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have it. Be here all the earlier next morning.
Oh, yes, sir, I shall. I certainly shall.
Scrooge exits, and Cratchit dons scarf, hat, snuffs out his candle, and turns to meet Tiny Tim hobbling on with crutch, face aglow.
Father!
Hello, my dear son.
Father! I've been waiting for you!
Let's go by Cornhill and watch the children play. someday you'll be there too, playing with them.
I feel that I'm getting stronger every day.
And do you remember what
Christmas
tomorrow
Day!
is? And I am to have the whole day off to celebrate with my family.
Hurrah for Christmas!
Cratchit picks up Tiny Tim and bears him off, them beginning to break into carol together. Oh, Scrooge. He was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, he was. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, to be sure. Secret, self-contained, and solitary as an oyster. He carried his own low temperature with him everywhere he went. He iced his office in the dog days and didn't thaw at 1 degree at Christmas. Scrooge always took his melancholy dinner in the same melancholy tavern, and this night was no different. He read all the papers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book before he took himself home to bed. He lived in chambers which had once belonged to his deceased partner. They were a gloomy suite of rooms. It was old and dreary, for nobody lived in it but Scrooge, the other rooms being all let out as offices. The fog and frost so hung about the black old gateway of the house that it seemed as if the genius of the weather sat in mournful meditation on the threshold. Upon arriving in his chambers, Scrooge took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown, slippers, and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel, for he had a cold in his head. It was a very low fire indeed, nothing on such a bitter night. He was obliged to sit close to it and brood over it before he could extract the least bit of sensation of warmth from such a handful of fuel. We find Scrooge sitting in front of an empty fireplace in his dressing gown, slippers, and nightcap, eating his gruel, mumbling occasionally, suddenly, calling bells beginning to ring, startling Scrooge. It begins slowly at first, then becomes faster and louder, more insistent. It stops just as suddenly, leaving Scrooge momentarily frozen. He goes back to his gruel, mumbling. We hear the sound of heavy chains being dragged across the floor. Scrooge looks up,
Scrooge!
Scrooge springs up from his chair, dropping bowl and spoon.
Scrooge! Humbug! I won't believe it!
Marley enters slowly, a grayish-white figure bound in cash boxes and thick ledgers, and oversized chains secured with huge padlocks, all of the same color.
How's this? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
All right. Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
No, I don't believe it.
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your senses?
I don't know.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You might be an undigested bit of beef, or a blot of mustard, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Mercy! Dreadful apparition, why do you trouble me?
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. But why have you come to me?
It is required of every man that his spirit should walk abroad among his fellowmen and travel far and wide. And if that spirit does not go forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared and turned to happiness. Oh, woe is me!
You are fettered. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link, yard by yard, and wore it of my own free will. Is the pattern strange to you? Or would you know the weight and length of the strong coil you bear yourself? It was as long and heavy as the 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since it is a ponderous chain.
Scrooge looks about him on the floor, seeing nothing.
Jacob, old friend, please speak comfort to me.
I have none to give. I have little time. I cannot rest. I cannot linger anywhere. My spirit never walked beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing hole. Oh, not to know that any Christian spirit working kindly in its little sphere will find its mortal life too short for its vast means of usefulness. Not to know that no space of regret can make amends for one's life's opportunity misused. Yet such was I, oh, such was I!
But you always were a good man of business, Jacob.
Business! Humankind was my business! The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. Oh, why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down and never raise them to that blessed star which led the wise men to a poor abode? With no poor host to which its life would have conducted me. Hear me. My time is nearly done.
I will, Jacob, but don't be hard on me.
I am here to warn you that you have yet a chance of escaping my fate. A chance I had procured for you, Ebenezer.
You always were a good friend. Thank you.
You will be visited by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance you mentioned?
It is.
Oh, well then I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, when the bell tolls 1.
Can't they all come at once and have it over with, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and for your sake, take care that you remember what has passed between us.
Marley backs up and exits. we hear screams of remorse and suffering. Scrooge attempts to shake the whole thing off.
Oh, hum.
We see Scrooge pace the floor, crawl into bed, and toss and turn. And so Scrooge lay in his bed and thought it over, and could make nothing of it. The more he thought, the more perplexed he was, and the more he endeavored not to think, the more he thought. Marley's spirit bothered him exceedingly. Every time he resolved within himself that it was all a dream, his mind flew back again, like a strong spring released to its first position, and presented the same problem to be worked all through. Scrooge sits up and looks around.
Was it a dream then? A quarter past. Half past. A quarter to it. The hour itself, and nothing else.
Pleased with himself, he gets back into bed. A figure emerges and takes position at the head of Scrooge's bed.
Scrooge!
Oh!
His head swivels left as if it's on its cord. He sees the spirit of Christmas past, a striking female figure with bright, flowing hair and a white robe, bedecked tastefully with summer flowers and a silver sash. Her expression is bright, full of life and hope. She holds a branch of green holly. A bright light accompanies her. Her voice should be firm.
Are you the spirit whose coming I was told about?
I am!
Who and what are you?
I am the spirit of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
Oh, perhaps you could turn down that light that accompanies you.
What? Would you so soon put out the light I give? Yours are the dark passions that would extinguish the light of truth.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. What brings you here?
Your welfare, of course.
I can't think of anything more conducive to my welfare than a night of uninterrupted sleep.
Your reformation, then. Take heed. Rise and walk with me.
The spirit of Christmas past takes hold of Scrooge's arm. He rises and walks away with her. And carolers can be heard quietly singing Carol of the Bells.
Good heaven! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
What? Oh, it's nothing. It must be a pimple. Lead me where you would, spirit.
Do you remember the way, Ebenezer?
Remember it? I could walk it blindfolded.
Strange that you've forgotten it for so many years.
A small group of boys, 3 or 4, runs on, laughing, jostling, joking, celebrating holiday from school. They stop and huddle. Scrooge looks on wide-eyed.
Oh, why, that's David Masterson and Robert Estes. Hello.
These are merely shadows of the things that have been. They are not aware of us. Well, Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
Oh, say hello to your sister for me.
Don't eat too much figgy pudding.
We see a small boy sitting at a small school desk. He's reading a book and looks rather sad. Scrooge notices him.
The school is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, and is left there still.
Poor boy. My mother died giving birth to my sister. My father grew morose and seemed to begrudge us both ever after. I wish... but it's too late now.
What is it?
It's nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given him something. That's all.
The lights shift and reveal Ebenezer as a young adult, pacing back and forth, agitated. Fan enters, throwing her arms around him. Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas past watch.
Dear brother!
Fan! Little Fan! You've grown!
I've come to bring you home, dear brother!
Home, little Fan?
Yes! Home! For good and all! Father's much kinder than he used to be. He was in a pleasant mood just the other night, so that I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said yes, you should! And he sent me to bring you. Ebenezer, Father's arranged an apprenticeship for you. You're to be a man and begin your career. You'll never have to spend another moment in this dreadful school. But first we'll be together all Christmas long and have the most merriest time in the world. Your sister was a frail creature and often ill, but she had a large heart.
So she had. You're right about that, Spirit. I'll not contradict it, God forbid.
Come, Ebenezer, pack your things. The carriage is just outside.
Are you sure Father is ready to have me home?
Oh, yes, I'm sure of it.
But where am I to be apprenticed?
You will work for a wonderful man, Mr. Fezziwig, who keeps a warehouse. Now come, we mustn't keep the carriage waiting.
They hurry away to board the carriage.
Your sister, but a young woman. But she did have a child, as I recall.
Yes, a son. My nephew. His name is Fred Hollowell.
Your nephew, Ebenezer. The only family you have left.
Yes, that is true.
Come along, Ebenezer. It is time to see another Christmas.
Fezziwig is seated at a desk, busily engaged. A piano can be heard playing Deck the Halls. A table laden with bolts of cloth and other goods sit right in the middle of everything. We see a table with several bolts and cloth and other goods surrounded by a handful of workers, including Ebenezer busily working.
Do you know this place?
Know it? This is where I was apprenticed. Look, it's old Fezziwig, bless his heart. Fezziwig alive again. And there's Dick Wilkins. We were the best of friends.
Fezziwig lays down his quill, stretches, rubs his hands together, and claps.
Yo-ho there, Ebenezer. Dick, no more work tonight, my boys. It's Christmas Eve. Clear all this nonsense away, all of you. We must make room. Life is too short for all work and no play. I say it's time for a party. Hilly-ho, Dick. Cheer up, Ebenezer.
The boys and workers move to clear the table and push the desks back. More revelers appear, including a fiddler alongside Mrs. Fezziwig and her daughters. They greet one another as the fiddler begins to play Sir Roger de Coverley, signaling the start of the dance. Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas past stand by watching the merriment. Belle is dancing about with Ebenezer watching, eyes full of adoration. They all dance. As the dance ends, all greet Mr. and Mrs. Fezziwig, sharing greetings of the season. We see Ebenezer saying goodbye to Belle.
It's such a small thing to make all these silly people feel so much gratitude and joy.
Small thing?
Is it not? After all, what did he do? This Fezziwig. Spend a few pounds on the party. Does he deserve such praise as this?
It isn't that, Spirit. Why, Mr. Fezziwig has the power to make us happy or unhappy. He can make our work pleasant or miserable, just in the way he looks at us, and the way he addresses us. 1,000 such little things add up, you know, until the happiness he gives us is as great as if it cost a fortune and...
What is it?
Nothing.
Something, I think.
No. It's just that I would like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now. That's all.
Then come, Ebenezer. My time grows short. Look!
This was not addressed to Scrooge or to anyone whom he could see, but it produced an immediate effect. For again Scrooge saw himself. He was a little older now, a man in the prime of life. His face had not the harsh and rigid lines of later years, but had begun to bear the wear and tear of the signs of care and avarice. There was an eager, greedy, restless motion in the eye, which showed the passion that had taken root, and where the shadow of the growing tree would fall. The light shifts, revealing Ebenezer and Belle, seated side by side on a bench. Belle is weeping, a handkerchief to her face.
I know it matters very little to you. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can make you as happy as I would have tried to, then I have no reason to cry.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one!
Tuh, no, there's a double standard for you. All the world speaks so vehemently against poverty, yet it condemns the pursuit of wealth just as harshly.
You fear the world too much, Ebenezer. All your other hopes have merged into one hope of eluding the disdain of others. I've seen your nobler virtues fall away, one by one, until nothing is left but one master passion, the pursuit of profit. It consumes you.
What then? Even if I have grown wiser and more astute, I haven't changed my feelings towards you.
Oh, Ebenezer, our promise to one another is an old one. We made it. We made it when we were young and poor, and happy to remain so until we can improve our fortune together by patience and hard work. But you've changed. You're not the same man. Tell me, Ebenezer, if all of this had not happened, would you seek me out and try to win me now? A poor, dowerless girl with nothing to bring to a marriage? Just as I thought. You may feel sad now, Ebenezer, but I've no doubt that you will dismiss the thought of me just as soon, as if you were glad to have awakened from a bad dream. May you be as happy in this life as you've chosen.
Belle exits, and the lights shift, revealing Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas past once more.
Spirit, show me no more. Conduct me home. Why do you enjoy torturing me?
There's one more shadow we must see.
I don't wish to see it. Show me no more.
The lights fade out, and we hear a piano playing Carol of the Bells once again. The spirit of Christmas past takes hold of Scrooge and pulls him away as two gentlemen come into view.
Saw an old friend of yours this afternoon.
Oh? Who was it?
Take a guess.
Why? Surely you don't mean old Ebenezer Scrooge?
The very same. I passed his office window. His partner, Jacob Marley, lies upon the point of death, I hear. And there he sat, old Scrooge, all alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Miserable wretch.
The gentlemen exit as the music plays on.
Spirit! Remove me from this place!
I told you! These are the shadows of the things that have been. That they are what they are. Do not blame me!
Please! I beg you! Take me away from here! I can bear no more! No more!
After this mighty struggle, if that can be called a struggle, Scrooge was conscious of being exhausted and overcome by an irresistible drowsiness, and further, of being in his own bedroom once again. He barely had time to reel to bed before he sank into a deep, heavy sleep. Scrooge wakes himself from a prodigiously tough snore and sits up in bed to a dim, dim light around him. He looks around, expecting another ghost. Just as he goes to lie down again, he hears.
Scrooge! Ebenezer Scrooge!
As Scrooge alights from bed, lights shift to reveal the spirit of Christmas present, seated upon a platform lit with 1,000 lights, bedecked with mistletoe, and heaped with a feast fit for a queen. She is an impressive figure, wearing a green robe trimmed in white fur crowned with a holly wreath. She holds a golden torch in her hands, which is filled with stardust. Scrooge approaches gingerly.
Come!
Come here and know me better, man. I am the spirit of Christmas present. You've never seen the likes of me before, huh?
No, never.
You've never walked forth with any of my elder brothers born in these later years?
No, I don't think I have. Have you had many brothers, Spirit?
Oh, more than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for.
Take a hold of my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, where, pray tell, are we going?
You will see.
Scrooge reaches out nervously and touches the robe. They make their way forward to an open-air market. There is a great, happy bustle of chattering, greeting, and a bit of good-natured market haggling. Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas present appear, and as they make their way among the crowd, the spirit of Christmas present sprinkles stardust on those who pass by.
Is there a peculiar flavour in which you sprinkle from your torch?
There is indeed. My own.
Would it apply to any kind of dinner on this day?
To any kindly given. To a poor one most.
Why to a poor one most?
Because it needs it most.
Spirit, why do you, of all the beings in the many worlds about us, desire to cramp these people's opportunities of innocent enjoyment? Well, you would deprive them of their means of dining every 7th day when markets are closed. Often the only day on which they can be said to dine at all, wouldn't you? You seek to close these places on the 7th day, and it comes to the same thing.
I seek.
Forgive me if I am wrong. It has been done in your name, or at least in that of your family.
There are some upon this earth of yours who claim to know us, and who do their deeds of passion, pride, ill will, hatred, envy, bigotry, and selfishness in our name, who are as strange to us, and all are kith and kin as if they had never lived. Remember that. In charge they're doing on themselves, not us.
The lights shift and they move to the Cratchit family table.
What has ever got your precious father then? And your brother Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't this late last Christmas by half an hour.
Here I am, Mother.
Oh, Martha, how late you are.
Oh, we had a great deal of work to finish at the milliner's last night, and a great deal to clear away this morning.
Well, never mind. You are home now. Sit down and warm yourself, dear.
Father will be home any minute! Hide, Martha, hide!
Martha hides herself. Cratchit enters with Tiny Tim on his shoulder holding his crutch. He is enthusiastically greeted by his family and kissed by his wife.
But where's Martha?
Oh, she won't be coming for Christmas this year, I'm afraid.
What? Not coming for Christmas?
Oh, here I am, Father.
Oh!
Come, Tim. Come here, the pudding
Singing at the copper.
They help him down from his father's shoulder.
And did little Tim behave himself in church?
He did, as good as gold and better. Somehow, he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple, and it might be pleasant for them to remember on Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see. But he's growing stronger every day. I just know it.
Yeah! Everyone!
Martha, come, help me with the goose.
There's such a goose, Father, such as we've never had before.
Mrs. Cratchit re-enters in high procession with a small goose on a platter, followed in parade by Martha and the two younger Cratchits. It is placed on the table, and all are seated.
Such a good
Just
what's so
smell this
exciting
baby
this
blossom.
year?
A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us. God bless us, everyone.
We see Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas present as they watch the dinner.
I had no idea Cratchit had a crippled son.
I wonder why.
Tell me, Spirit, will the boy live?
I see a vacant seat at this table, and a crutch without an owner. Carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, no, that cannot be. Say he will be spared.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. But what difference does it make? If he is likely to die, then let him die and decrease the surplus population.
You use my own words against me.
Yes, so that in the future perhaps you will hold your tongue until you have discovered what the surplus population is and where it is. Who are you to decide who shall live and who shall die? It may be that in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions, like this poor man's child.
And now, dear ones, a toast. I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of our feast.
Founder of our feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope that he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children. Christmas Day?
It should be Christmas Day, when one would drink the health of such an odious, stingy, hard, unfeeling man as Ebenezer Scrooge. No one knows it better than you, Bob.
My dear, have a little charity.
Oh, all right then. I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's sake, but not for his. Long life to him, and a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I've no doubt he'll be very merry, indeed, and very happy.
To Mr. Scrooge.
To Mr. Scrooge.
To
Mr.
Scrooge.
All drink, and the spirit of Christmas present approaches and sprinkles stardust liberally on the Cratchit table, at which the family brightens up.
I think it's time for a song.
A Christmas carol?
What shall we sing?
Angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled.
We return to a small crowd at a party on Christmas Day. We hear them singing Good King Wenceslas.
And he said Christmas was the humbug. He believed it too.
More shame for him, Fred.
Oh, really is a comical old fella. And not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he is very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so.
But his wealth is of no use to him. He doesn't do any good with it. He doesn't make himself comfortable with it. And I sincerely doubt he would ever consider benefiting us with it.
Well, I have no pity for him.
Oh, but I have. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here, he takes it into his head to dislike us, and he won't come dine with us. What's the consequence? He loses some pleasant moments which could do him no harm. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not. I think I may have cracked the old boy yesterday, if I do say so myself. He has given us plenty of merriment, I'm sure. And it would be ungrateful not to drink his health. Here's to Uncle Scrooge.
To Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
I would normally take offense at such tasteless banter and laughter at my expense. However, in view of the general gaiety of the occasion, I'm inclined to overlook it.
That is quite noble of you.
We see something at the Spirit of Christmas Present's feet, and Scrooge notices it.
Forgive me, Spirit, if I am not justified in asking, but I see something strange and not belonging to yourself protruding there from your skirts. Is it a foot or a claw?
It might be a claw, for all the flesh there is on it. Look here.
The Spirit of Christmas Present draws aside the folds of her robe to disclose want and ignorance. Two thin, dirty, wretched, scowling waifs crouched and clutching at her feet.
Spirit, are they yours?
No, they're yours. Do you not know them? This boy is ignorance, and this girl is want. Beware the both of them, and all of their kind. But most of all, beware this boy. For on his brow I see written the word doom, unless the writing be erased. I dare ye to deny it. I dare ye to slander those who claim otherwise, and see where it leads.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Suddenly, the chime of 12 is heard. We see Scrooge standing and dazed. The Spirit of Christmas Present has disappeared, and in his place approaches the Spirit of Christmas yet to come in fog. It is a tall figure, entirely cloaked and hooded in black. All that we will see of this figure are its bony hands.
I take it that I'm in the presence of the Spirit of Christmas yet to come?
The Spirit of Christmas yet to come slowly nods.
You're about to show me shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Is that not so, Spirit?
The Spirit of Christmas yet to come nods.
Spirit, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen. Will you not speak to me?
The spirit of Christmas yet to come lifts its arms and points beyond Scrooge.
Oh, very well. Lead on then. The night is passing fast, and it is precious time to me. Lead on, spirit.
The spirit of Christmas yet to come walks slowly, Scrooge following behind. We then see a small band of brokers.
Why, I know those men. And this place, it is a stock exchange. It's a second home to me.
The spirit of Christmas yet to come only points to the group of men.
No, I don't know anything about it. Either way, I only know he's dead.
And when did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Why? What was the matter with him? I thought he'd never die.
God knows.
What has he done with his money?
I haven't heard. Left of his company, perhaps? I only know he hasn't left it to me.
Well, it's likely to be a cheap funeral. I don't know anybody who would go to it. Suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
Well, I don't mind going if a lunch is provided, but I must be fed for all the trouble it's worth. Well, it matters little to me either way. I never wear black gloves, and I never eat lunch, but I'll offer to go if anyone else will. Well, off to business. Goodbye!
Goodbye.
Goodbye!
Scrooge then looks up at the spirit of Christmas yet to come, perplexed.
Have these men no sense of decency or decorum? Spirit, what is this? Why am I seeing this?
The spirit of Christmas yet to come turns and points in the opposite direction, revealing a greasy, bedraggled old man sitting on a chair, surrounded by an odd collection of junk in and out of boxes. Old iron, rags, old clothes, moldy books, bottles, etc. Two old crones and a man in black slink into the scene, carrying bundles as Scrooge observes.
I was here first. Mrs. Dilber shall be after me, and then the Undertaker's man can be third. Isn't this something, Joe? All of us met here without meaning it.
You could have met in a better place. Come in and sit. Don't be shy. We're all suitable to our calling. We're well matched, to be sure. Come on in.
Mrs. Oliver throws her bundle to the floor and plops herself down on a stool with a sigh.
What odds, then? What odds, Mrs. Dilber? Every person has a right to take care of themselves. He always did.
That's true indeed, no man more so.
Well then, don't stand staring as if you was afraid, woman. Who's the wiser? We're not gonna pick holes in each other's coats, I suppose.
No, indeed.
We should hope not.
Very well then. Who's the worse for the loss of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
If he wanted to keep him after he was dead, the wicked old screw, why wasn't he more natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have had somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying, gasping out his last there, all alone, by himself.
It's the truest words that ever was spoke, Mrs. Oliver. It's a judgment on him.
I wish it was a little heavier one. And it should have been. You can count on it. If I could have laid my hands on anything else. Now, open that bundle, old Joe. Let me know its value to you. Speak out plain. I'm not afraid to be the first. More afraid for them to see it. We knew pretty well that we were helping ourselves. Before we met here, I believe. It's no sin to see one's livelihood.
Mr. Tackleton steps forward, not to be outdone, and produces his plunder.
Mr. Tackleton has been a busy man. Let's see. A seal, a pencil case, a pair of sleeve buttons. I'll give you £1.8. And not another sixpence if I was to be boiled for not doing it. Who's next?
Mrs. Dilber presents her old bundle. Old Joe brings out sheets, towels, and a few articles of clothing, some silver.
Ah, quite a stash, Mrs. Dilber. Of course, I always give too much to the ladies. It's a weakness of mine, and that's the way I ruin myself. £3 even, Mrs. Dilber. If you asked me for another penny and made it an open question, I'd repent of being so liberal and knock off half a crown.
And now, undo my bundle, Joe. I was the first.
Ah, and what do you call this? Bed curtains.
Bed curtains?
You don't mean to say you took him down, rings and all, with them lying there?
And why not? He wasn't apt to catch cold without him, I dare say.
I hope he didn't die of anything catching, eh?
Oh, doubt you they afraid of that. I wasn't so fond of his company that I'd loiter about if they did.
Old Joe pulls out a fine silk shirt.
You might look through that shirt till your eyes ache, but if you won't find a hole in it nor threadbare place, it's the best he had, and a fine one too. I'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
And what do you call wasting it?
Why, putting it on him to be buried in, to be sure.
Old Joe figures sums in his head, then opens a money bag filled with coin and counts out into her hand.
£4, 6 shillings and 2 pence. And not a penny more if I was to be boiled for it.
And this is how it ends. He scared everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, this is a fearful place. Surely there can be no reason to bring me to this god-forsaken part of the city, except that the case of this unhappy man might be my own. Yes, the items they have stolen are similar to mine. I see the point, but surely there's someone who feels some emotion caused by this man's death. Show that person to me. I beg you.
The spirit of Christmas yet to come turns and points opposite. We see a family table where 2 children are seated. The mother is pacing back and forth. Her husband enters. He is sober, but not without hope.
Oh, you finally come! Thomas! What have you heard? Is it good or bad?
It is bad, I'm afraid.
Are we ruined, Thomas? Did he deny you the extra time you asked for? Has he evicted us?
No, there is hope yet, Carolyn.
Only if he repents, that old miser. Nothing is past hope if such a miracle has happened.
He is past repenting, dear. He's dead.
Dead? Oh, God be praised! Oh, Lord forgive me.
I thought he was merely trying to avoid me, but what I had been told is quite true. Not only was he very ill, but he was dying, even then.
To whom will our doubt be transferred?
I don't know. But before that time, we will be ready with the money. And even if we weren't, it would be bad fortune indeed to find a creditor who was as merciless as he. We may sleep tonight with light hearts, caroling.
They walk off.
Spirit, I asked to see some emotion connected with this man's death, and you show me only pleasure. I demand to be shown some tenderness connected with the death.
Scrooge turns to see the Cratchit family table. The children are seated quietly. Mrs. Cratchit and the older girls are sewing. Peter is reading from the Bible.
And he took a child and set him in the midst of them. And he said to them, Whenever you welcome a little child, you welcome me.
This color hurts my eyes. There. Better now. The candlelight, makes me weak. And I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home. Not for the world. It must be near his time.
Past it, rather. I think he's walked a little slower than he used to these last few evenings, Mother.
Yes. I've known him to walk with... I have known to walk with... I have known him to walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulders. Very fast, indeed.
And so have I.
And so have I.
And so have
I.
But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so. It was no trouble at all. Is that your father now?
She stands to greet Cratchit as he enters. They all greet him. He sits, a child on one knee.
I went by there today, is why I'm late. I wish you could have been there. It would have done you good to see how green it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him that I would walk there every Sunday to visit him, you see.
He recovers as he hugs the children.
But guess who I saw today? Fred Hollowell, Mr. Scrooge's nephew. I met him on the street. He saw that I was a little down and well. He is the most pleasant-speaking man you ever heard, and so I was not afraid to tell him. And this is what he said to me. I am heartily sorry, Mr. Cratchit, heartily sorry. And he pledged to be of any service he could to us. He even gave me his card, and I said I should call on him at home. But it's not for the sake of anything he might be able to do for us so much as for his kind way that I'm thankful. It really seems as if he had known our Tiny Tim and felt with us. I've got good news for you, Peter. What is it, Father? Mr. Hollowell told me that he's been able to secure an apprenticeship for you. You'll begin at 8 shillings a week, starting Tuesday next. 8 shillings a week?
Soon you will be keeping company with a young lady, Peter, and setting up house for yourself.
That will happen soon enough. But however and whenever we're parted from one another, I'm sure none of us will ever forget poor Tiny Tim, shall we?
Never.
And I know as well, my dears, that when we remember how patient and mild he was, although he was a little child, we shall not quarrel among ourselves and forget our little Tim in doing it.
No,
we
won't,
won't,
Mother,
never.
Hugs all around, and Peter proudly steps up to shake his father's hand. We are left with Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas yet to come.
Spirit. Something tells me that the moment of our parting is at hand. I know it, but I don't know how. Tell me, the man who was spoken of, the one who died, tell me who he was.
The spirit of Christmas yet to come points. And they find themselves in a graveyard. Scrooge is hesitant, loath to go.
Before I draw near to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be? Or are they the shadows of things that may be only?
The spirit of Christmas yet to come points to the gravestone.
The course of a man's life, if persevered in, will determine certain ends. I accept it. But if he departs from those courses, the ends must change. Say it is so with what you show me.
The spirit of Christmas yet to come continues pointing. Scrooge creeps toward the stone, trembling. Seeing the name inscribed there, he falls to his knees.
No! No! It can't be! Am I that man? Am I the man who died, whom no one mourned? Say it isn't so, Spirit! Say it isn't so!
The spirit of Christmas yet to come points to Scrooge and back at the stone.
Spirit, hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for your intervention. Why show me this if I am past all hope?
The spirit of Christmas yet to come, his hand begins to shake.
Oh, surely your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I may yet change these shadows you have shown me by a changed life.
The spirit of Christmas yet to come's hand continues to tremble.
I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will remember the lessons of the past. I will live in the present. I will live toward the future. The spirits of all three will strive within me. I will not shut out the lessons that they teach. Tell me that I may sponge away the writing on this stone.
Scrooge grasps the spirit of Christmas yet to come's hand, grabs at the robe, pleading, crying, pulling the figure down into a pile of black as he pleads as all lights fade to black.
Please!
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay.
We hear carolers singing, God rest ye merry gentlemen, and find Scrooge back in his bedroom right as he was before. He awakes with a sob, the chimes tolling 8 o'clock.
Where am I? Wait. What day is this? It's morning, but what day? How long have I been with the spirits? I don't know. Oh, but I'm alive! I'm alive! The curtains are still here! They're not torn down. They are here. I am here! Woohoo! I don't know what to do. I feel light as a feather. I'm happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy.
He runs to the window and looks out. He sees the same boy who attempted to sing to him at the counting house.
Hello, you boy! What day is it?
The boy, seeing Scrooge, makes to turn and run.
Well, wait! Don't be afraid, my boy. What day is it?
What day is it?
Yes, what day is it today?
Why, it's Christmas Day!
Christmas Day! Are you quite sure, my good fellow?
I should say I am.
Oh, then the spirits have done it all in one night. Why, of course, they can do anything they like. Of course they can. Hello, my fine fellow.
Hello?
Do you know the Poulterers? In the next street, but one at the corner?
I should hope I did.
What a wonderful boy! A remarkable boy! Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there?
What? The one as big as me?
What a delightful boy! A pleasure talking to you with him. Yes, my buck, the one as big as you.
It's hanging there right now.
It is? Why, then you must go and buy it. Yes, go and buy it now.
Police!
And tell them to bring it round so that I can give them directions where to deliver it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown.
The boy turns and is off like a shot.
I'll send it to Bob Cratchits. He won't know who sent it. I won't tell him. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. Oh, Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim will live. On my soul, Tiny Tim will live. They did it all in one night. The spirits of Christmas past, present, and future shall strive within me. Oh, heaven and Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, dear Lord, on my knees. A Merry Christmas to everybody, and a Happy New Year to all.
Hello?
We find Scrooge fully dressed as the boy returns with the poulterer.
There's the turkey! Hello! How are you, my boy? I was right. This turkey is twice the size of Tiny Tim. It's twice the size of you, my lad. Merry Christmas, my fine fellow.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Why, it's impossible to carry that to Camden Town. You must have a cab, sir.
Camden Town, sir?
Yes, this splendid turkey is to be delivered immediately to the home of Bob Cratchit and family in Camden Town. Here, I've written the directions down, and here is the money for the turkey.
Thank you, sir.
And here is the money for the delivery.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And here is a tip for you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And here is half a crown for you, my boy. Well deserved. Yes, well deserved.
Thank you, sir.
The boy and the poulterer run off.
And a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas!
Mr. Jeeves and Mr. Howell enter, quietly chatting. Scrooge turns, sees them, and hurries over to them.
My dear sir, how do you do? I hope you did well yesterday. It was a very good thing to do, a very good thing.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name. I fear it isn't pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your forgiveness. And yours too, sir.
Yes, sir.
And will you have the goodness...
Lord bless me. My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you quite serious?
If you please, and not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such generosity.
Don't say anything, please. Come and see me sometime. Will you come and see me, both of you?
We will.
We will.
We will.
We will.
Thank ye, and I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you both. And a Merry Christmas.
Jeeves and Howell exit. Would you believe it if I told you that Scrooge went to church that day? He did, and walked about the streets, and watched the people hurrying to and fro, and patted children on the head as they passed, and questioned beggars, and looked down into the kitchens of houses and up to the windows, and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that anything at all could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew's house.
Oh, Fred! It's beautiful, but it's too much. You shouldn't have spent this much.
But I love you, my dear, and my wife shall have the best on Christmas Day.
Oh, Fred, I love you so, but not just for this.
I know, my dear. I know.
Now, who can that be?
I don't know. No one's expected at this hour.
Fred answers the door, shocked at the sight of Scrooge.
Hello, Fred.
Uncle Scrooge!
The very same. It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I recall an invitation you made to me yesterday to come and dine with you. If that invitation is still in force, I should like to accept.
Why, I don't know what to say.
Well, you could say, bah humbug, a retort I heartily repent of and shall never use again. Or you could say, come in.
Come in? Well, of course you shall come in. Hurrah! Uncle Scrooge, you've made us both very happy. Oh, may I introduce you, my wife Janet. Janet, my Uncle Scrooge.
My dear, it is plain to me now why my nephew chose you among women. You are indeed every bit as lovely as I've heard.
Why, thank you, Uncle Scrooge. We are very happy you're here.
Fred, I am sorry for the things I said about Christmas, and sorry for the poor reception I gave you yesterday, of which you were so undeserving. I see the image of my sister in your face. I loved her, you know, and she you.
I know it, Uncle Scrooge. She loved you very much, and wished until her dying day that we should always be close.
And so we are, Fred. And so we shall be. So we shall be.
We find ourselves back in Scrooge's counting house. It is the day after Christmas. Scrooge is sitting at his desk with a mischievous smile on his face, humming to himself as he works. Cratchit then enters.
What is this?
Morning, sir.
Mr. Cratchit, you are late, sir.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
Step this way, if you please, Cratchit.
They meet at Cratchit's desk.
It's only once a year, sir. It shall not be repeated. I was just making rather merry yesterday with my family.
Now I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand this for any longer. And therefore...
From behind his back, he produces a leather bag full of coins.
And therefore, I am going to double your salary.
What?
Scrooge then throws the bag on the desk and crunches Cratchit in a magnificent embrace.
Yes, Bob Cratchit! I am going to double your salary, sir. A Merry Christmas to you! A merrier Christmas than I've given you for many a year. And from now on, I will endeavour to assist your family in any way I can. And as for Tiny Tim, he will walk again. I know it. Now, you needn't say a thing. Come with me. We will discuss the particulars over a bowl of smoking bishop before you so much as dot another I. Bob Cratchit!
Scrooge and Cratchit exit. Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all, and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew. And ever afterward, it was always said of Ebenezer Scrooge that he knew how to keep Christmas and keep it well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
Happy holidays!